What's good, everybody? Today we're talking about quadratic word problems, and our problem reads the following. It says a class launches a rocket from a hill that is 48 feet high. The rocket's height above ground is represented by the following equation. And they give us the quadratic equation, and the key question they're asking us is, what is the maximum height of the rocket? So for us to do this, we have to understand something. So once we launch the rocket's gonna go up a little bit and then the trajectory is going to come down. So at this highest point right here, what we need to figure out is what is going to be the vertex. Because at the vertex, that is going to be the highest point. So to find the vertex, we're gonna have to use the formula V is equal to negative B divided by 2A. So when we're talking about A, B, and C, guys, we're talking about the quadratic equation. So this would be our A term, our B term, and our C term. So what we're going to do is substitute. So V is equal to negative 32 divided by 2 times negative 16. So once we simplify this, we're going to get negative 32 over negative 32, and our answer is positive 1. So what exactly does this positive 1 mean? So when we look here, we know that at 1 second, this is representing time. So at 1 second, it's going to be at its highest height. And for us to figure out what the height is, we're now going to take this 1 and plug it in for t, because t represents time, so that we could figure out what exactly is the highest height. So let's go through and substitute. So h is equal to, so after we plugged in 1 and then we simplify our quadratic equation, we're going to get h is equal to 64, and just understand that this represents the highest height of the rocket, which will occur or happen at 1 second. So we're on to part B now, and part B asks us, what is the rocket's height after 2 seconds? So just remember that t represents time and h represents height. It's always good just to put what the definition, the variables represent. Okay. So now what we're going to do is basically substitute 2 in for t. And all that they're trying to do is make sure that you guys correctly solve this quadratic equation. And what that means is that we just make sure we follow order of operations. So now we're going to have negative 16 times positive 4. This is going to give us 64 plus 64, bring down to 48. And once we simplify our answer, we should know, 1, we're going to add from left to right. So negative 64 plus 64, those are going to cancel. And we know after 2 seconds, the rocket is going to be at 48 feet. That is going to be its height above the ground. So we moved on to part 3 right now, or part C, I should say, guys. And what they're asking us is, hey, how long will it take for the rocket to hit the ground? So there's 2 ways to approach this. Yes, we're going to be factoring, but let's say you forget to factor. Just remember that when you replace 0 for h, right? Because once it hits the ground, the height is 0. We're basically going to try to solve for our variables, and because we have an exponent of 2, that means we're going to get 2 different answers. And we have to make sure and check that both of them actually satisfy the equation. So when we're trying to go through now and simplify this, we're going to take out a greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor I'm going to pull out is negative 16, because we want this first term to be positive. So that gives us t squared minus 2t minus 3. So now we have our trinomial that we're trying to factor. And once we break this down, we are going to get we're going to get t minus 3 and t plus 1. But just know we're not done with the problem yet. We need to set each of these factors equal to 0 to determine which one is the answer. So we know 0 is equal to negative 16. That's not true. We have t minus 3 is equal to 0. So once we solve, t is equal to 3. So that's one answer. And then we have t plus 1 is equal to 0. And when we solve, t is equal to negative 1. So which one of these answers is actually going to be correct? So once we simplify, guys, just remember that time cannot be negative. Okay? So we would have to eliminate this answer because it would not satisfy the equation because time cannot be negative. All right, guys. So the last thing we're going to do for this video is wrap it up by checking to see if t is equal to 3 will satisfy this quadratic equation. So when we go to solve, we're going to have 0 is equal to negative 16, and we're going to substitute 3 everywhere that we see t. And once we do, this is what we're going to get. So as we start cleaning up the problem, guys, we're going to get 144 plus 96 plus 48. Most important thing to remember, add left to right. Once we do, we're going to get negative 48 plus 48, and we know that 0 is equal to 0. So this would be a true statement, and 3 would satisfy our quadratic equation. We hope you found this video helpful on quadratic equations and word problems. Join us next time when we teach you guys more about Algebra 1 and math. Thank you guys for joining us today.